Hi, I'm Kristy. I'm in the marketing department at Fairplex, and today I'm going to teach you some simple crochet techniques. So I'll show you how to chain, single crochet, and double crochet. Okay, the first thing we're going to start with is a chain. So I'm going to show you how to make a slip stitch because that's how you start your chain. You're going to want to wrap the yarn around your finger twice, just like that. So 1, 2. You're going to take the first strand, pull it over the second strand. Then you're going to grab the second strand, and with your other finger, you're just going to kind of tuck under, and we're going to let go and pull together. So that'll give you a little slip stitch. You're going to want to insert your hook through that and kind of tighten the yarn around it. You don't want your yarn too tight because you do want the head of your hook to be able to pull back through with the yarn. So you want it a little bit loose. You want to be able to work with it, but you don't want it so sloppy, you know, that it's going to be falling apart. You want it just kind of comfortable. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chain 15. So to chain, you're going to start with your hook. You're going to go kind of grab the yarn and loop around and pull it back through. So that's 1. So you're going to grab it, twist, and pull back through. There's 2. And you're just going to keep doing that for 15. 3, 4. And again with that last one, you're grabbing and you're looping and you're pulling through, and there's 15. One of the things with crochet is you do want to try to make your stitches as even as possible. This is something that, you know, I've been crocheting now fairly regularly for about 6-7 years. I am still not great at keeping my stitches uniform. It's just, I'm not good at it. So it is something that takes practice. You know, it takes a lot of repetitive crocheting, but you'll get there. So now that we're at this point, we are going to turn, and we're going to start actually building a single crochet piece. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to count back to the third crochet, right? The third chain that we've made. So this does not count as one. You go 1, 2, and then this is the third one, 3. You're going to want to slip your hook through that third one and grab those 2 pieces there. So you see like that. You're going to grab the yarn, you're going to pull it through. So you've got both pieces of yarn on your hook. So this is our original piece, if we kept chaining, that we would have grabbed. And this is now the new piece that we have pulled through. You're going to grab your yarn again and pull through both of those. Okay, so now we have 2 single crochets, and I'm just going to kind of pull this out so you can see here. So those 3 that we counted back to, those 2 that we kind of left dangling there, those count as 1 stitch. And then now this is our second stitch. So you're going to keep going the rest of the way down with the same pattern. So you're going to want to go through here. So you have those 2 strands on your hook, just like that. Grab again and pull through a second time. And that's all you're going to do across. So this one is the most difficult, at least for me it is. I always struggle to try to get the yarn through those 2. I don't know why, I just do. So you're going to do that 15 times across, and that is a single crochet. You know, this is a more dense stitch. It's shorter, tighter. It tends to make things warmer. You know, if you're doing a lot of single crochets, it's also going to go a little slower. You know, it doesn't take up as much height. So, you know, it takes more rows to get the same number of inches. But single crochet is very basic, very simple. And you just keep going across the rest of it like that. We're almost there. Just a couple more. And don't be afraid to reposition your hands if you feel like you're losing grip, it's just not working right. Like right now, I am struggling to get through this hook. There we go. You know, and one of the things too is, you know, you see my projects curling there. My tension is a little off for this next row that I've been working on. And then we're back in our starting one. Okay. So we've now made 2 rows, and so we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So those 15 chains we made at the start made us 14 total stitches. So once you get to the corner, first thing you're going to do is you're going to rotate your yarn. So you want to rotate your yarn. You can either do clockwise or counterclockwise, however you want to do it, but just make sure you do it the same direction each time. And then you're going to chain up 2. So that same stitch we learned right at the beginning, that chain. So we're going to go 1, 2. That's going to be our first stitch. You do not want to go into this one. This is not the stitch you want to go into. You want to go into the second stitch over because this counts as 1 here. So you're going to go in here and you're going to do that same technique. So you pull through and pull through. And you're sticking your yarn, your needle in between those two, your hook, excuse me. And you're pulling through and you're pulling through. And you just keep doing that all the way across again. So another 15 single crochets. We're almost there. So there is number 13. And then we're going to go back into that last chain here. Oop, you can get through both of them. Sometimes this is a little tricky if you do it a little bit too tight like I did. There we go. And then you pull through and pull through and we're back at the edge again. And that's all you do. You just keep going back and forth. You know, so I rotated under this last time, so I'm rotating under again, and then I would continue stitching. So that is a single crochet. You know, you don't necessarily need a pattern to make something. Now patterns are great to follow. You can also use your imagination. You know, if you just want to make a scarf, it's just a mixture of single crochets and double crochets the whole way up, you could. You know, if you wanted to do just single crochets, just keep taking this forever, you can. You know, you can make pot holders, you can make scarves, hats, lots of stuff, blankets, tree skirts, Christmas stockings, you know, you name it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do a double crochet. So I have a pattern already going here. It's one I started last night. It's going to be a scarf. It's a variegated yarn, you can see here. It's a self-striping yarn, but I'm not necessarily using it for the self-striping. I just liked the color pattern. So this is a double crochet. It's a little looser, you can see when you compare it to this guy. Here, let me take the hook off. When you compare it to this, you can see it's a denser stitch. It's a little tighter. It's a little taller. You know, our 2 stitches, our 2 rows that we did equals 1 row of the double. So I'm going to pick up on this like I was working on it last night. So we're here. I always turn under like I just mentioned. So the one difference for a double crochet when you're stitching up is you want 3 chains, not 2. So you're going to go 1, 2, and 3. And then we are going to do the same thing. We're going to skip this initial stitch and we're going to go through this next one. Now, a double crochet, you want to loop the yarn first before you go through. So at some point, you're going to have like 4 pieces of yarn on your hook, which is right now. We're going to come through, and now we've got these 4 pieces. You see the 2 from your stitch, and then the loop, and your initial hook that loop that you were in. We're going to grab the yarn, and we're going to pull through the first set. Okay. So now you've got 3 pieces of yarn on your hook. You can see it right there. Okay, so once you have those 3 pieces, we're going to do basically 2 single crochets back to back. So you're going to grab it and you're going to pull through the first 2 and turn up. So you have 2 on your hook, and you're going to grab and you're going to pull through 2 again. So that is a double crochet. So we're going to do one again. So you're going to loop just like that. We're going to go down through here. So you got those 4 pieces of yarn again. You're going to grab and you're going to pull through the first 2, grab, pull through 2, and grab, pull through 2. And that's all you're doing all the way across. So you're getting your first pieces of yarn on there, right? So you grab some yarn before you go through, head through the stitch, grab it again, pull it up, pull the yarn through 2, pull the yarn through 2. And we're just going to go all the way across with this double crochet. Okay, and then we're going to go through the last one here. So again, you grab it before you head under, go through those 2 pieces, grab it again, pull it through the first 2, grab it, pull it through the next 2, grab it and pull it through 2, and we are at the end of that row. So you can see, ooh, I was a little tight there at the start. But as you can see, this is a double crochet, so like I said, it goes a lot quicker. It's a higher height, a little looser. This is nice for a cooler weather or warmer weather scarf. You know, it's a little more airy. And you just keep going. That's all I'm going to do, is I'm just making this entire thing a double crochet. So very simple. Once you've kind of mastered a couple different techniques, you're able to move on to a granny square, which is what I'm working on here. This is going to be a baby blanket. So you probably all remember grandma, mom, dad, great grandma, Uncle Charlie, somebody had a granny square blanket laying across the back of their couch. It's one of the most common pieces of crochet. You see it a lot. I personally have probably a dozen different blankets from different family members over the years that are granny squares. They are really easy to make. They're very mindless. Once you get going, you don't necessarily need to remember to count. That's a big one for me. I'm not a huge fan of counting, but if you don't count, you end up with blankets and scarves that do this along the edges because they're not straight. So I'm at a corner, so I'm going to pick up there. I kind of lost my stitch. Hold on. There it is. So let me just fix this real quick and we'll pick up where I left off. So the cool thing about granny squares is they kind of bring together a couple different stitches. You know, you've got double crochets, chains, and slip stitches in these. So I just did a slip stitch there. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain up 3 because we're doing a double crochet. So 1, 2, and 3. You're going to double crochet kind of back into this corner piece, but careful not to crochet over your double crochet. And one thing I didn't mention in the earlier part of the video was your hook sizes. So I mentioned I was using a really big J earlier to make it easy for you guys to see what I was working on right here. So you can see it says size J on it. This is a boy hook. Each yarn will tell you on the side of it its recommended sizes. So you'll see those here. I think, oh, there we go. So you'll see those here. This one is a Bernat Softy Baby yarn, and it uses a G6. So that's what I'm actually using for this one. It's a much smaller hook, as you can see, compared to the J here. So this is a G6 I'm using from Boy. Okay, so what I did was I double crocheted 3 here in the corner, and then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to just double crochet again into this next little hole. So basically all you have to do is remember, whether you're on a corner or whether you're in what is known as a runway, you know, you're kind of moving across the wider part of the granny square. So, you know, you chain 1 in between your runway and you chain 2 on your corners. So I just did another 3 double crochets. I'm going to chain 1 again and then 3 double crochets into the next little hole along the path. This is why granny squares are easy. That's all you do. You're just double crocheting 3 times into the spaces and chaining 1 in between them. You can just keep going forever. So basically what this baby blanket is going to be is, think of a target. It's going to start with yellow here in the center. It'll go to gray, and then it'll go to white, and then I'll go back to yellow. So I'm just making a very large square granny square blanket. I'm not going to do individual squares. It's just one big piece. I think it's going to look really cute with the kind of stripes of yarn through it. So I'm going to do one more kind of loop around the center of the yellow here, and then I'm going to swap my colors later for the blanket. So here's where we get to the corner. So remember how I mentioned the chaining more? So you chain 1 here, and then we're going into, you know, the kind of the top of the corner here with our 3. 1, 2, and 3, and then you chain 2, And this just kind of helps the corners be more square looking. So you chain 2 and then double crochet right back into that same hole, and you make kind of that curve with those 3 double crochets. Oops, lost my yarn there. And so you can see it kind of rounded a corner, and that's it. And you just kind of keep practicing that pattern the rest of the way around. And when I get to this corner, you keep practicing that pattern the rest of the way around. When I get over here to this corner, I connect it again and then start chaining up again to make the next round. And it just kind of keeps going from there. So those were kind of the 3 simple little techniques I wanted to show you. So that single crochet, the double crochet, and then how you can kind of take multiple techniques together to create one very cool piece. I hope you enjoyed it. We're sure going to miss you all this year, not having the fair, but we are looking forward to 2021 and seeing all of our smiling fan faces again. So thank you and have a great evening.